Leia Healthcare, looking after you always. Proud sponsors of Real Health with Karl Henry.
Hello and welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry, in association with Leia Healthcare. Folks, my next guest wears many hats. Mother of twins, broadcaster, stylist, fashion designer and an entrepreneur. This week, as part of our Life Lessons episode, I'm very excited to be joined in studio by Sonya Lennon. Sonya, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Which is pretty good that I'm good.
Good is
given
good. It's December, it's busy, it's cold outside, we're all flat out. How's life? Let's start, before we go back and chat about everything that you've done. How are you? How's life now?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. It's been, like everybody, I suppose, kind of momentous the last few years. So when I look at the kind of big things that have happened, my mum went into residential care in lockdown 1. She has quite progressed dementia. That was a massive family decision. Very, very tough. But she's thriving now. And It's really interesting. You know, she had been at home with my dad as primary carer. It's just really hard. He's 84 now. And so to make that decision and to free him from that responsibility was a big thing. And now she has time for fun, and she's safe, and she's scheduled, and she's socialized, and I'm away in there after this, and we'll all go in and see her, and she'll be delighted to see us. And so that's been amazing, like a kind of a freedom and a rebirth for him as well. We did a big home renovation, which we were out of our home for 10 months. So coming back in now and really enjoying our home. This is going to be our first Christmas in the new home. So that's very exciting. And yeah, like there's lots going on. The family are good. The twins are getting ready to do the leaving cert.
Leaving cert.
Oh
my goodness.
Yeah. So two,
I thought they were
not one.
Like, yay high,
no, not one, but 2 leaving certs in our house in the summertime. So yeah, look, it's good. It's all good.
Okay. Where did everything start? So, like, even listening to the introduction there, you've done so much here, and I've been at a conference with you. You're a powerhouse of a woman. Yeah, I'm fascinated to learn a bit more about it. So, where did it kick off? And was fashion always where it was going to go?
Yeah, I think so. I used to watch fashion TV when I was a kid, and I remember getting goosebumps and thinking, this is magic stuff. I'm just really excited about this. And my mom was a transatlantic air hostess, and she used to bring back stuff from New York. And I remember she brought me back a pair of leg warmers, and I was the coolest kid. Like, I was the first kid with leg warmers in Dublin.
It's Jane Fonda.
I know. Yeah. Well, it was kind of a Fame reference at the time.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So, and again, it was that kind of contagion of feeling really good. And all my friends were delighted to hang out with me because I had the leg warmers were like a talisman, you know. And then just, it all became about kind of the joy of looking good, feeling good, tapping into that through fashion retail, through styling, through makeovers, through designing, through empowering women, through Dress for Success, which is now Work Equal, and understanding the power of how looking good can make you feel good.
And were you always driven? Because even listening to you chat about, you can hear passion in someone's voice, and you have it in spades.
I think I was probably always bolshy. I was probably always a bit of a show off. I and a performer probably. I did speech and drama as a kid. I am not shy. And then I had a really good support network. So and I was brought up in a home where we were given wings to do what we wanted to do, and know that we were loved and supported in doing that, even if it wasn't maybe the most normal road to take, or maybe, you know, like I didn't go to college after school. My parents were mildly horrified, having paid for my education, but they still, you know, they said, okay, you do it your way.
And how did that path? So you finished school, you decided not to go to college. What do you do?
I became a shop girl. I went and worked in high-end fashion retail. I sold very expensive clothes, and I loved it. I loved selling. I loved the same thing, that moment where a woman tries something on and you know she looks good, she knows she looks good, and that was kind of amazing. And what that taught me, I suppose, was a sort of an intuitive understanding of what a garment will do on a hanger before it even gets on a body, you know. So I know what a garment will look like before there's a body in it. And that's been really obviously very informative in terms of Lennon Courtney and making sure that we're creating clothes that that create value for our women. We don't want our clothing to be a challenge or a threat. We want it to be a solution.
And how did yourself and Brendan meet then? Where did that come
Tinder. No, we didn't obviously meet on Tinder or Grindr. So we were like a fashion boy band. We were put together by RTE for Off the Rails. So we had kind of mutual friends. We had a sort of an edgy respect for each other, but we didn't know each other. But we were match made for Off the Rails. Yeah, that's where it all started in 2008.
Is it okay? Wow. Mm-hmm. So because our personal transformation was on around the same time, I remember watching it. And TV, do you love it?
Yeah, like I was a very reluctant TV presenter, to be honest with you. I was 39 3/4 when I took the gig. So it wasn't like I was some wide-eyed ingenue going, this is it, it's my big break. I wasn't sure that it was the direction to take because I'd been a very established stylist. I'd been working in TV commercials, in music videos. I had a lovely life traveling all over the world and coming together with a group of creative people and clients and loved my job. So I was turning my back on that by going into RT to present Off the Rails. And I really wasn't sure it was the right thing to do. But I kind of figured that an opportunity like that doesn't come around twice if you knock it back. And I had a responsibility to rise to it and take the risk, I suppose.
And a risk that paid off?
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of double paid off because that was 2008. And so I literally stepped out of commercial styling into broadcasting, and the advertising industry collapsed because of the financial crash. So from a sort of timing point of view, it was very fortuitous. And then I loved it. I felt very strongly that I wanted to bring the sensibilities from my styling career into broadcasting. So I wasn't interested in kind of being a sort of a dumbed down fashion girl. I wanted to talk about the psychology of feeling good and looking good. And I wanted to make the women that we worked with feel great. And so did Brendan, and we were very aligned in that. And I think one of the things that we asked for time and again was revisits. Can we please go back to the women? Can we please see what's happened? And so many times she left the no good fiance, she quit her job, she bought a camper van, you know, she lost the weight she wanted to lose. And that's what that moment does. It becomes a catalyst which empowers you to drive your own sort of personal changes.
Is it fair to say you're a risk taker and you're fearless?
I think that moment where I took that risk slightly inured me to it and made me braver. And then so the subsequent risks that I've taken through my career, and they have been plentiful, weren't as scary. Because I think what happens through your career, if you get used to that, the stakes get higher, the risks get higher, you've further to fall. But in a way, you have a responsibility to yourself to make those calculated risks.
Now, how did you find having a family changed things, or did they? Presumably twins changes everything.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, absolutely. Like my sister always tells me I'm a much nicer person since I had the kids. I think I probably took myself too seriously, you know. Like I would have always tried to be respectful to everybody and be very professional, but I definitely had an overinflated sense of my own importance, you know, that was kind of protected by being well brought up and polite. But I think for me, when I had kids, it totally knocked the corners off me and made me realize that, you know, if you're sort of up to your elbow in nappies, you really can't take yourself too seriously.
But did that emphasize how important the look and the dressing and that feeling that you get from clothes is when you are knee deep in the nappy changing and you get a chance to go out, and the importance of that feeling from them?
Yeah, I mean, I for me, clothes are like football or golf might be to somebody else, or, you know, it's a hobby, it's a way of life, you know. I like getting dressed, it's fun. So I never felt the need to kind of slump into some version of myself that didn't feel right. Now I'm very lucky because I'm confident and I have that sense of myself. Not everybody has that. And I think sometimes, you know, I work with women and I say to them, when you look in the mirror, does your reflection look like who you feel like on the inside. And so many times women will say, no, there's no relation between the me that I look like and the me that I feel. And I think that's the opportunity that we're afforded with clothes. And it doesn't have to be a huge investment. It's about joy and a kind of little bit of curiosity. And they're the sort of behaviors and the mindsets that I'm really interested in at the moment. And, you know, I look at my dad, who's 84, who is eternally curious. He will die curious, and he's vital. And I think that's a really important way to be.
Folks, you're listening to Real Health with me, Karl Henry, in association with Leia Healthcare. We're chatting all things life lessons with Sonya Lennon. Vibrant, fascinating, interesting. I think what people will say so far listening in is that, God, it all sounds very easy. And I'm sure it's not, because you make it sound very easy. And I'm going to ask you the questions around the tough times, which I'm sure there were, ups and downs, about maybe what some of them were and how you get over that. Because that's, I think, when you chat to people who are interesting, they've all gone through stuff. And it's the bounce back ability that I'm fascinated in, that I think people like to know about, which is how do you bounce back and how do you, keep going with challenging times?
Yeah, it's a fabulous question. And I go back actually to RTE when I went into RTE, and I was reluctant and I wasn't sure and I was taking a risk, and all of the pain, the mental pain that goes with that, it lives in your aura, So I had a media trainer. You may have come across him, Paul Mussolides.
Oh yeah,
love Paul. And I went to meet my series producer, and Paul said, "Can I have a moment with her, please? And then we'll go into the training room." That was fine. And we went into the training room, and he said to me, "So do you want to tell me what the problem is?" I'd never met this man before. And I said, "Excuse me? What problem?" And he said, "Well, every fiber of your body is telling me you don't want to be here. So do you want to tell me why?" Wow. And I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll tell you why. I am walking away from a 20-year career as a really successful commercial stylist. If this doesn't work, that door may be shut to me. Somebody else might walk through it in my place. Reputationally, for me to now be a fashion TV broadcaster, I'm worried that I'm going to appear frothy and superficial and lose my professional reputation." And he said to me, "I just asked your series producer one question. I asked her, what do you want Sonya to be on TV? And you know what her answer was? I don't know." So he said, "You have a narrative in your head about other people's expectations for you that doesn't correlate with reality. So whatever it is that you want to be on TV is entirely up to you." And that was a real moment for me where I thought, so much of our lives is a story that we tell ourselves that, may or may not be true, And so the challenges, even in the times of the challenges, even when we had to close down our business, which we'd spent 5 years working on, raised a lot of money, had a lot of stakeholders and shareholders, and 17 staff, more importantly, who we had to let go in offices in London and Dublin. It was brutal. And we were like battle bruised from this thing. And the decision that myself and Brendan made together was, okay, we've given it everything. It hasn't worked. Leave it. Do nothing for 3 months. Go and have the summer, because this was June, the beginning of June, when we closed down the business. Go and lick our wounds, build ourselves back up again, meet in September, and then decide what we're going to do, because we didn't know whether we were going to have to issue a press release, do media interviews. We had a big failure on our hands. And that time, that 3 months to kind of regroup and come together again, by the time we came back together in September, that concept of nobody really caring became glaringly obvious, that businesses fail all the time. And we had built this spectre up in our heads that people actually gave a damn. I mean, other than our staff, who I'm thankful to say all went on to get amazing jobs. We practically acted as a hatchery for big tech. But people fail all the time. The big question is, what can you learn from it? How can you move on? And how can you get up fast enough to not lose your place?
And is it taking that time to lick your wounds a little bit?
I think whatever happens to us in this life is the experience, right? So that's the mental or physical experience. That's what happens to us. Wrapped around that is a kind of like a Teflon / sugar coating of the emotional response, which is separate. And I think that's very primal. And we need to give ourselves time to let that diffuse, to really rationally understand what has happened. And I think that time is critical.
Have you always been honest, or as honest as you seem? Like you come across as someone, you're straight up. There's no nonsense, and you call it as you see it. Is that something you've always been?
Yeah, I think so. I probably have become more honest as I've grown older, and I am a middle-aged woman. I turned 54 yesterday, so honestly, never mess with a middle-aged woman because she has seen it all, she's done it all, she's worn the t-shirt, she has the wounds. It's such a liberation. And to any of your female listeners out there who are worried about it, oh my God, it is golden age stuff. It's the best time. And I have a fantastic group of friends who are all in and around the same age. And nobody talks about how wonderful it is. How wonderful it is to be entering into kind of what's almost like a rock star phase of your life. You have so much wisdom. I have half a century of wisdom under my belt and learnings and experience that I can now bring to bear on every decision that I make. The journalist Eleanor Mills calls middle-aged women queenagers, which I think is just such a fantastic coinage. And we don't tell that story enough. And we are keeping the economy afloat. You look in any restaurant, any bar, it is full of women of a certain age. And they are spending the money. They are keeping things moving.
And where does the drive come from then now? So you've a new range with Dunn's just out, I know that, and lots of other projects on the go.
And sold out.
You're an MC. I've seen you speak at several. Like you're flat out busy. What gets you to bed in the morning?
I am genuinely excited about living my life to the fullest. Like that sounds so schmaltzy when I hear it coming out of my mouth, and I don't think I've ever said the sentence before. But it's like, I was born into a gorgeous family. I was born into a great country. I was born into a democracy. So much of the resources that I have available to me were based on luck. They were based on, a privilege that I am only beginning to understand. And so, like a lot of the work in terms of social entrepreneurship, in terms of supporting and empowering women who maybe don't have those resources available to me, I feel that that's a kind of a responsibility to use. And that really came into focus when I did Off the Rails, and I realized not only do I have the intellect and the skills to do this, I now have the profile to drive it forward. And that's when it kind of became non-negotiable to push for social impact, as well as to turn that, I suppose, into profit making as well.
How do you manage the demands? Like you're all go, I get that, but no one can be all go all the time. How do you manage it?
Okay, so I have an extraordinary amount of energy. I know that. I know I can see people looking at me and thinking, "Oh my God, is she ever gonna stop?" And I don't take that for granted. And actually, during COVID, it was one of the things that I was petrified of, was that I'd end up in a bed on the flat of my back and be knocked out. That's my idea of hell. And that's not to say that I don't take downtime, and it's not to say that I don't protect my schedule. I really, really do. In fact, I've just taken on an assistant to manage my diary and to really corral the responsibilities that I sign up for. So I think I'm naturally driven. I'm naturally excited. So it's not a kind of I don't know. I can't explain it, Karl, but I have that energy naturally, and I guess if I didn't use it, I'd just turn into a bitch.
You use it positively, and obviously health and wellness are very important to you. I see that on your Instagram. You've got this very fun, cool kind of workout zone in your house. So you mind yourself.
I do. I do, and that's been a grower. Like that hasn't always been the case. Like one of my closest friends, who I've been friends with for the last, I'd say, 22, 23 years, she taught me how to walk. Like I could walk, but she taught me the joy of walking. And I had never put one foot in front of the other except to get from A to B before I met her. And I'm a great walker. I love walking. I wish I was a runner. I'm not a runner. But I do love movement, and I love working out. It's it's pretty much non-negotiable. The workout happens first in the morning, for anything between 20 to 50 minutes, depending on the schedule. So yeah, miss the odd day, of course, but yeah, that's the plan.
For people listening in, men and women, when we ask most our guests this, what are the 3 takeaways you'd like them to take from listening to our chat that we've had? And you've been very strong and very honest and very frank and very, again, you have an energy about you that just, it comes across through the microphone, but also through TV, obviously, as well. And people who are listening in, about that life lessons thing to take away, to learn from you. What are your 3 takeaways you'd like them to take away?
Look, we've touched on it already, is courage. And I think if you are sitting in a life that doesn't serve you now, you probably have more control over that than you think. And to exercise courage to make brave choices that can lead you down a path that will allow you to enjoy your life. Like we only have one of them. What are the decisions that you can make? If you hate your job and you tot up all the hours you spend doing something you hate, is that the way you want to live your life? There are opportunities out there. We have choices. If we're in a relationship that isn't good for us, what are we doing? Be kind to yourself. Be brave, be kind, and act, because nothing happens without action. There's a great little riddle that I love about 3 frogs sitting on a log in a river, and 2 decide to jump off. How many frogs are left? Well, there's still 3, because just because you've decided to do something doesn't mean you've done it. You have to act, you have to do it. And action is compelling, and it makes you act even more. So I want to be the person who, if I died tomorrow, I'd feel I've done enough.
Sonya Lennon, that's been fascinating. That's been a powerhouse of 25 minutes, and I've enjoyed every single second of it. If people want to find you, I always ask people that.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find across all social media at Sonya Lennon. And obviously, if you like what you've heard here today, we have our own podcast, myself and Brendan, the Lennon Courtney podcast, which is available on all channels. And it is available to all ears, but it is kind of the thinking woman's take a break. So we take every aspect of social issues and life and living, and we pick it apart and ask the big questions.
Amazing. It's been brilliant to have you in. I've really, really enjoyed it. I love the life lessons episodes. They've been fascinating, but particularly when a guest is as strong on a microphone as you are, it's been absolutely wonderful.
My pleasure.
Thank you for coming in. Folks, that is it for another episode of Real Health with me, Karl Henry, in association with Leia Healthcare. As ever, you know where we are. Real Health at independent.ie, at Karl Henry PT on Instagram. If you've liked what you've listened to, and hopefully you did, don't forget to leave us a rating and a review. Much appreciated. And we'll see you next week for more Real Health. Slán go fóill.
Leia Healthcare, looking after you always. Proud sponsors of Real Health with Karl Henry.